10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Over the past 2 decades, Adam Curtis has produced a body of work that covers everything from the Cold War and primal scream therapy to 9/11 and Henrietta Lacks.
These are cells from her body. They were taken from her just before she died.
His riveting BBC documentaries have become very influential. They generally concern the history of ideas, often born from a desire to change the world for the better, and almost always creating more problems than they solve. Curtis achieves this through his use of a mashup style of montage, incorporating news footage and quirky ephemeral material, all wrapped up in the strangely reassuring, matter-of-fact warmth of his proper BBC voice.
There was immediately confusion as banks around the world struggled to come to terms with the new reality.
I first became aware of him in the mid-2000s with The Power of Nightmares. Its analysis of then recent events involving U.S. foreign policy made it the perfect introduction to Curtis's work for many Americans. And despite not having an official release in the U.S., it was made available through bootleg DVDs and a brand new platform called YouTube. His latest work is the 7-episode series Trauma Zone, which documents the collapse of the Soviet Union and the ensuing chaos up until the rise of Vladimir Putin. It's a fascinating, hypnotic program, as well as a stylistic departure from his previous work. Curtis fans may be taken aback by Trauma Zone's complete lack of non-diegetic music, and an observational approach to editing that allows scenes to breathe. The most striking change is the absence of Curtis's voice, or that of any omniscient narrator. In interviews, Curtis has explained that his decision to not include his own voice had to do with wanting to avoid the hot take, the journalistic equivalent of clickbait. While this is a valid reason, I'm sure his decision goes much deeper than that. Instead of an authoritative narrator to guide the viewer through the morass of events in a clear, linear fashion, summing up the cause and effect relations of everything presented to us, the subjects speak for themselves.
Курить мужик также на ферме целыми днями находится. Что в том месяце по 2 пачки дали курить. А он ходит, то тут стреляй из-за него, то там стреляй. Проси, хоть и я и женщина-то, а проси у всех-то.
They often communicate silently, with the looks on their faces conveying volumes. Graphics keep us grounded in the who, what, when, and where, just as they have in all previous Curtis films. The why, however, is largely left for the viewer to figure out. In the credits, Curtis thanks Polish director Pawel Pawlikowski for footage taken from his documentary, Tripping with Zhirinovsky, about nationalist politician and would-be president Vladimir Zhirinovsky. Pawlikowski is often lumped with other filmmakers under the term slow cinema, which is distinguished by long takes, minimal narrative, and a contemplative tone. Features that show up sporadically throughout Trauma Zone, transcending these images' origins as news footage. It's the perfect marriage of art cinema and documentary. It's similar to classic cinema vérité, where the filmmaker allows subjects to act freely without intrusion. But in the case of Trauma Zone, there's an added layer of distance. Because Curtis wasn't present in the filming of any of these scenes, he is entirely without influence in how the subjects behave.
В разницу продаются сам пистолет японский, дранский, потому что-нибудь, что он нравится.
His art is strictly a matter of observation and juxtaposition.
There has just been a huge explosion here. We don't know what it means.
Another fine example of this approach is the film Let the Fire Burn, which used news footage exclusively to tell the story of the bombing of black anarchists by police in 1985. Trauma Zone interweaves the newsworthy machinations of politicians and oligarchs with the daily lives of conscripts, convicts, Mary Kay representatives, panhandling children, and elderly peasants, bringing an epic scope to the series, and much of the footage feels eerily similar to the images that we often see today. A document of systemic collapse, made from extraordinary images, forever frozen at the nexus of comedy and tragedy.
Мозг. Мозг.
The faces of regular people are reminiscent of those that populate the film State Funeral, which documents nationwide funeral services for Stalin in 1953. Like Trauma Zone, State Funeral is without a narrator and is similarly focused on faces from all levels of society, trying to deal with sweeping historic disruptions that are completely beyond their control. By showing images of daily life from the past, without invasive commentary from our own time, these people are brought firmly into the present and become more real to us. Trauma Zone's deliberate pace allows for space for the viewer to contemplate the epic sweep of history and the familiar emotions of fellow humans caught in its grip.